hello, this is Lois back with The Greatest Attorney. And we are on chapter 3, so let's continue. February 18th, 12:52 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. What on earth just happened in there? Mr. Naruhodo, I managed to find out what happened. Mr. Sato. Also, it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke. A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use. They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long. But who would have done something like that? Police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently. Flee the courtroom? Why? Well, it's a young girl around 15, I hear. A young girl? Then, could it be? The other passenger that Mr. McGilded was talking about? My thoughts exactly. So he wasn't lying. Oh, what's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here. I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl. Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself? There's another matter that's been troubling me. What's that? The 20 pence. Oh, according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems like there were in fact 5 passengers. Which means the figures don't seem to add up again. She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. The trial will commence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away. Well? Whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial. We'll know soon enough, Mr. Sato. Yes. February 18th, 1 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. There's a young girl next to Mr. McGilded, look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before. Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Azieks. My lord, I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier. It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, of the sort typically employed by the army. Good gracious, the army? What's in the devil's name? It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught. And now occupies the stand. Your name, girl? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade, which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior? If I may, my lord. Yes, Mr. McGilded? I think perhaps I ought to explain here. Okay, hold on, I need to summon my Irish accent. Oh, Mr. McGilded. Saying his name helps a lot for some reason. Why, it is that the wee lass was here in the first place. No, I should try to bolt like that. It's all tied up with evidence of that night, so it is. Very well, Mr. McGilded. Give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. The young girl. On the night in question, I took the back seat of the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then, begorra, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at me feet, so I set him up on the seat across from me. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from. And bless my soul, what did I find? Find? What did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. I remain somewhat baffled, I confess. But from what I gather, on the night in question, that this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus, is that correct? 'Tis exactly as the defending counsel said. This lass was the fifth passenger, my lord. Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witnesses. Are you ready, counsel? Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. I have no idea where to start. The young girl. Okay, on the night in question. When you first got into the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board? There were not. The cabin was empty, and there was no one on the roof deck either. You were the first passenger, as it were. I see. Aye, and that's why I took the backside as I did. 'Tis the most comfortable, so it is. Could you explain exactly what you mean by the back seat? By all means. 'Tis how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite of the one in the poor gentleman who was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, 'tis the most comfortable and where I feel most at ease. And of course, I was gazing through the skylight from time to time as well. Thud and scream woke me up with a spare start. A loud thud, you say, and a scream? Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? It was like the sound of someone falling to the ground. That sort of noise. So, you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor having been stabbed? Well now, you'll remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me, I opened my eyes. There was a soul to be seen in the carriage, the fella on the floor. You didn't see anyone, but at the same moment, you did hear a scream. Ah, from the seats above, you on the roof deck, I presume. Not above me, no, my lord. It was from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before my eyes. Collapsed on the floor, sat him up on the seat across from me. You sat him up, the victim, you mean? That I did, on the seat across from me, as I said. I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't just leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? 'Tis common courtesy, so it is. I find that a little hard to believe. Ara, Lord Van Zeeks. Now why would that be? You wake to find a man, lying dead at your feet in a carriage. Only any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is. Well now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money at exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some won't even see me dead. So I do try, where at all possible, to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble. Are you suggesting you were just going to leave the man there? Heavens alive, no. I was always intended to report it, so I was. Only, I had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first. The whys and wherefores? Right, you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddling. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes, the scream he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing. Where the scream had to come from. I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir, so I did, as far as I could see, that is. What do you mean by that? Well, now, 'tis a queer thing. the wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you'll excuse the vulgar expression, from under me backside. Good gracious. Under your backside? And when I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubbyhole there for storage. Mr. Netholder, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside. And that's when I found her. There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. You say she was hiding herself? Aye, that's right. It was hard to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, well, my heart nearly stopped beating in my chest. Ugh, you're really overacting this. Still and all, I pulled it out from under there and sat on her seat opposite so I could have a wee chinwag with her. The seat opposite? That's right, just next to the dead gentleman there. You sat this young girl next to a corpse, sir? Well, as I'm sure I've mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream, a fellow's voice this time. Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down to the skylight, you must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly. In other words, the previous witnesses did not, in fact, see you at all, Mr. McGilden. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was, in fact, this girl and the late Mr. Mason. Aye, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat back of the carriage out of sight. It is certainly plausible. The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused, perhaps, with this young girl. After that, of course, with the scream of from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses. Thank you, I've heard enough. The events, as explained, are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl? It's so funny because if I keep speaking Irish, I can't like switch between Irish and British, and so like when I try to do the British, it just ends up sounding Irish, and it's just all blah 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 in my brain. Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. What? This girl here, a petty thief? Order! Order! This is true. Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question. Holy... Oh, How dare you? What is the meaning of this? What the... Oh! The girl! She's gone! Open your eyes. Over here. Good gracious, what was the point of that little sidestep? I know what your lot are thinking. All grown-ups are the same. This dirty little dipper, you say, slept up and got caught on the job. She got herself back into a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on. That's what in your heads, isn't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We're here to determine the... Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need is for what I do with these fingers. I'm a professional, alright. Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess, you don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs? Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day, down where they keep the four-wheeled drags. That's nice, isn't it? I like the pink best. Do not lead that thing in my direction again. So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question? Is that right, lass? You can tell them the truth now. Alright, yeah. It's just like the Irishman said. The court accepts the girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question. Alright, if I have to. Man, if only I knew how to do different British accents. What the girl saw. So I was stuck inside the carriage before they looked up the horses, just like always. But it was alright. Oh, it was right a waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles last night. I tell you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. Then after a while, I heard this loud bang, nearly jumped out of my skin, I did, and a scream just came out. It's because of that this swell found me. It did help me get away, mind. I mean, is this supposed to be Scottish? I actually don't know. Yes, he let you go. I fail to understand why you would let the street urchin go, Mr. McGilded. Oh, tis simplicity itself, my lord. You see, she couldn't possibly have killed the other passenger. I knew that for a fact. How? As I'm sure I said before, sir. She was in the little box. I was sitting right on top of the place where she was hiding herself. I think a demonstration is called for. This is where I sat that night. And the cubbyhole of which you have spoken is underneath the seat, I presume. Yes. Yes, it does appear just large enough to accommodate someone of the girl's stature. Aye, but of course, the wee lass was stuck in there, because I'd parked myself on the seat for the duration. Oh. So you see, that's why I let the lass bolt. I knew that if the police found her there, they'd automatically assume she'd done it. But I couldn't live with myself if a young life was ruined when all the time I knew she was innocent. Even though you must have realized your action could result in your own innocence being called into question. Not at all, my lord. Not at all. I knew in my own heart that I was innocent. So I thought that it was worth taking a punt for my own good name for the sake of this less fortunate lass. My goodness. What a perfect gentleman. My lord. This fine exemplar man could not possibly be guilty of a heinous crime like this. I should know myself for ever doubting you, sir. Wow. With calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives early, clearly at the truth, every time. Oh, she changed her voice too, wow. Oh my gosh. Saint alive. All 6 members of the jury, consensual in their leaning toward the verdict of not guilty. Mr. Naddles, this? Well, it must mean what? That we're victorious. We've won? Are you sure? Oh my gosh, foot. If the slight of my iron here the Wellington offence, pray, do forgive the discourtesy. This really is a consummate example of the one monumental flaw in British judicial practices. Where evidence and reasoning should be paramount, emotion rules the day. Emotion? The witness's last statement gives us a clear insight into his true nature. What do you mean his true nature? Do you really think Scotland Yard would have made such a glaring omission? After the incident, the omnibus was comprehensively searched by the officers of the police. Obviously, the interior of this cubbyhole, as the witness put it, was included in their investigation. The compartment under the posterior seat was full of the coachman's belongings, It's noted in black and white here in the police report. Good lord. The evidence has been tampered with. In order to corroborate Mr. McGillicud's story, someone has unlawfully removed everything from under the seat. What? Order! Order! How could such a devious contrivance possibly have affected counsel? Naturally, we must acknowledge the deficiencies of the constabulary in allowing this to have happened. However, I assure you, when the omnibus was wheeled into the courtroom this morning, the compartment under the seat was not empty. Well, my Nipponese friend? Me? The carriage was submitted as evidence. Doubtless you examined it in fine detail as any self-respecting practitioner of the law. Pray, what did you find in the condition of the underseat compartment to be? Oh, to be sure. The young gentleman will be able to clear this up in a jiffy. Sorry? Go ahead. You tell the court now, fella. Now this all is an elaborate excuse by the desperate Lord Van Zeeks. Well, counsel, do you have something to say on this matter? How am I supposed to answer? What can I say about the state of that little compartment underneath the seat of the omnibus? I mean, it wasn't empty. We have to tell the truth. This is the only way. Let's check really quick. I wonder if it'll say anything new now that it's a significant component of the, of what's happening. Oh, we never checked the blood on the floor. I didn't notice that before. That's blood, isn't it? Is something wrong? Oh, it's just, well, this bloodstain is so obvious, that's all. And yet, Van Zeeks made no mention of it. I suppose that does seem a little strange. Why do I have such a bad feeling about this? Was it really there before? Let's open this up. See, it has a handle, it seems. See, it's empty now, right? It definitely had stuff in it. This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing here. It's solely empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is. What? I'm so confused. What the heck? This was not here before, right? I mean, it wasn't empty. It's empty now, so what should I say? I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess I'll just go with what I said before. I really don't know if giving this answer is helping my cause as counsel for the defense. As far as I remember, at least. When I first examined the compartment, I'm fairly certain there were a number of articles inside it yet. Oh, are you sure, counsel? Be whilst. What are you saying now, you daft doll? I thought you were on my side here. What game are you playing? Your task is to defend the man on the stand. Why would you say something to compromise his position? As the advocate for the defense in this trial, I confess I'm not entirely sure where I stand. But it seems to me that I should say the facts. I do know as clearly and honestly as possible. Interesting. 'Tis not altogether pleasant, fella. I'm simply telling the truth, Mr. McGillicud. Well, don't forget that you're supposed to be representing my best interests here, lad. Now then. A fellow's memory is a curious thing, and altogether reliable. Not altogether reliable. Now the court must consider the facts. That there cubbyhole under the seat is as empty as a devil's art, so it is. Do you think that perhaps it would be in your best interest to now admit that you might have been mistaken? No freaking way. Why? Why do I feel like something's not right here? I should like the jury to weigh in on this matter, I think. Let me take a drink too. Sorry, my swallows are really loud. That compartment is designed to house equipment used to maintain the smooth running of the carriage. The guild rules state that omnibuses should be properly and fully equipped at all times, so it certainly wouldn't have been empty on the night in question. Beppo isn't that irresponsible. That money-lending fleecer and the pick purse are lying. Well, I can't believe I was nearly taken in. The stinking rich are always stinkers, nothing but cowards, a lot of them. What? Oh no. It's a trick. Of course it's a trick. Of course it's a trick. Quite so. I must concur here. Uh-oh. For, with calm, calculated reasoning, one arrives early, clearly at the truth every time. Yes, but every time a different truth, it seems. My lord, I humbly exhibit the scales of justice. Clearly, a verdict of not guilty at this time would be wholly inappropriate. Thank you, counsel. But before we proceed any further, there is the matter of the outstanding cross-examination. Counsel for the defense, begin your questioning of the witness, please. Please. Yes, my lord. What just happened? The whole balance of the trial just shifted almost beyond recognition. The Reaper of the Bailey is at work, it would seem. What the girl saw. So I snuck inside the carriage before they looked up the horses, just like always. But it was a right old waste of time. I got nothing to show for me troubles that night. It's not Irish. Stop saying Irish. I'll tell ya, you can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's bitten there. And after a while, I heard this loud bang. Nearly jumped out of me skin, I did. And the scream just came out. It's because of that, this swell found me. It did help me get away, mind. Okay, I guess I just gotta go through everything. So, you were already in the omnibus before it even set off on its run. Well, yeah. I mean, what's the point of spending a joey to make a few bob, eh? That's a rum idea, isn't it? So she means there's no point in spending money to make money. It actually makes sense. Counsel, may I remind you that this girl is a petty thief, kindly refrain from entertaining her tenants. Well, that does clear up a little mystery of the fares and all. 4 paying passengers at 5 pence apiece, making the 20 to which the cabman testified. And the one little scapegrace riding for free. That Concord driver always goes for some grub before its last run, see? And so when I slip into the carriage and get myself hidden under the seat, nice and easy, right? But your hiding place is a storage compartment, fully equipped for the coach, no? Yeah, there's brushes and buckets and whatnot in there, sure. I always chuck all that out and cram it in a corner somewhere. No one ever seems to bother much. And yet, according to the report filed by the police officer who first arrived at the scene, the compartment was full of such paraphernalia. Well, I don't know nothing about that. Like I said, I moved all that stuff out so I could hide under the seat. That's all I can tell ya. It seems that we've reached the end of that line of inquiry. Continue. But it was a right old waste of time. A waste of time? Why is that? Well, most nights I'm on me own in the God permit at least some other time. I beg your pardon, did you say God permit? Oh yeah, well, that's what my kind call it. You say the omnibus, I suppose. The point is, in your normal run, the carriage ain't got no one in it for a while. That's when you come out of your hiding place and get away. That's it, only that night. This cove was sat on me seat from the start. And he didn't budge away, did he? Not 1 inch. I was totally stuck. You mean to tell us that you were present in the carriage for the duration? You were under the seat the entire time while the events unfolded in the enclosed cabin? Yeah? Right, mister? To be sure, to be sure. I was as shocked as anyone. You don't expect to lift the cushion you've been sat on and find a child now, do you? So Mrs. Stride couldn't possibly be the culprit then. I'll tell you. You can't see a blind thing in that hiding place. It's pitch in there. So you couldn't see out into the cabin at all. Her accent is so messed up. My brain cannot do this. Oh well. Not a jot. Most days I push up the cushion up with me head and look out the crack. Then I can have a butcher's at who I'm gonna fill it. I thought you were a pickpocket, not a butcher. I mean, I can have a look. The seat I get under it isn't that plush as the other ones see. So, most of the time, the passengers plant themselves opposite. But for some reason that night, this there Irishman spent the whole journey right over me head. And for that reason, you weren't able to push the cushion up to peek out, I see. Truth is, I ain't too happy in a small dark places. Feels too much like I've been thrown in the clink. Well, it's the only place to hide them garages, so it's Hobson's choice. Why doesn't she just stick to picking people's pockets in the open then? I say there's some reason that she's not letting on, judging from her demeanor. So anyways, I was a bit scared, but I just had to stick it out under there. Nothing enough for it. Then after a while, I heard this loud bang, nearly jumped out of my skin. When you say loud bang, do you mean the noise of someone falling to the floor? Could have been, I suppose. I don't remember so well. Point is, it made me jump. You let out a scream involuntarily? That's right. And then I felt a sudden cushion over me. Ed get lighter all of a sudden. Presumably when the defendant got up in order to help the victim, yes. Or not. It could have equally have been the moment the accused stood in order to stab his victim, could it not? Well, girl, did you see what happened at that crucial moment? Oh. Yeah, I saw it. I pushed up the curtain and had a quick butcher's while I had the chance, didn't I? The Irishman was sitting up the bloke what had fallen on the floor on the seat opposite. That matches Mr. McGilda's account, of course. But then, the fella suddenly turns around and looks right at me. I sunk back down again, but it was too late by then. I should never have risked looking. Because of that, the swell found me. He did help me get away, mind. Oop, I forgot to press the last one. All 6 members of the jury have decided the defendant was innocent. For one brief shining moment, yes. It's clear that they are all still very unsure. If we could just find some conclusive piece of evidence among this new testimony, I'm sure we could clinch the verdict we want. Yes, I think you're right. And I have this niggling feeling. Something's bothering me, but I just can't put my finger on it. Okay, let's press the last statement. When Mr. McGilda discovered you, he pulled you out from your hiding place? I was scared stiff I was. It dragged me out and sat me down in the seat and all. Next to the victim, Mr. Mason? Yeah, the bloke had a knife in its guts and is still bleeding. When the carriage lurched a bit, he ended up falling onto me. How awful. Both me hands got covered in blood. It made me feel sick as a dog. With her hands covered in blood, what could be the roof? That must be what the rooftop passenger saw. After that, I believe you talked with Mr. McGilda for a while, is that correct? He asked me some stuff. Wanted to know my name and what I was up to and all that. Then I heard something from up above. Someone screamed. Yes, Mr. Fuss on the roof deck, one would presume. Well, I didn't want no one seeing my face, so I didn't look up. Then the horses were drawn up smartish, and this Irishman says to me, "Get back under the seat. I'll see that you can get away later." Okay. Not really sure what to do. Well, let's check the evidence again, I guess. Oop, not this one. So there's nothing new here, but what's weird was that how did the whole thing change earlier? Okay, we can open this up. Okay, so there's no change here either. Let's take a look inside again. There's nothing different up here either. Let's look inside. So how is this? Why is this different? It's so weird. Something doesn't seem right here. What's saying is so obvious, that's all, and yet Ben 6 made no mention of it. It's blood soaked into the seat. Very strange. Let's read her profile really quick. Gina Lestrade, a young woman who witnessed the incident from her hiding place before the omnibus the night of the murder. She was discovered by the defendant. Oh! This didn't happen before, right? Ain't too happy in small dark places. Feels too much like being thrown in the clink. Is there something wrong, Mr. McGilded? Oh, I do apologize. Was there something the matter, Counsel? I'm just wondering if Mrs. Lestrade's last comment made something occur to you, perhaps. You seem to be thinking something to yourself. Oh, no. 'Twas nothing important. I was feeling bad for the poor lass is all. I remember feeling desperate myself as a young lad, shut up in the dark. 'Twas terrifying, so it was. I see, yes. I'm sure we can all sympathize. I'm still scared of the dark now. I don't know about yourself, but I find that the darkness seems to make everything you hear seem that much louder as well. Yeah. I suppose it does, maybe. Mr. Strahd, did you hear something that night? Anything? Any unusual noise, perhaps? Nah, not really. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. But jabbers, there's no need to tell the whole world of me foibles, you little scamp. What a pity. If only Miss Lestrade had heard something, I might have given us a vital new clue. Yes. What should we make of that last statement of hers? That's profoundly important. My lord, I believe the statement just made by the witness is profoundly important. Profoundly important? But all she said was that she heard nothing. Yes, which is the profoundly important point. I'm almost sure of it. I'm almost sure that I don't understand the inner workings of your Eastern Mind Council. Nevertheless, Miss Gina Lestrade, you will supplement your formal testimony by repeating that last statement, please. What? Supplement? What are you on about? Don't give me all your fancy talk. I know what you're trying to do. It won't work. Well, it won't work on me. That's right. Insult the judge. Always a good move. I was straining my ears to work out what was going on, but all I could hear was snoring. Let's press her on that. So you're straining to hear what was happening the entire time, since the moment you hid yourself? Not exactly, no. Well, there's no one in the cabin to start with. I could just push the curtain up and have a butcher's to see what was what. But then, when I saw this swell getting on, I got my head down so it didn't notice me. And Mr. McGill sat on your seat under which you were hiding, correct? Yeah. Would you Adam and Eve it, eh? What a mug. So then all I could do was listen. I was waiting to jump out of there as soon as I heard him leave, you see. But would he? Not likely. Even though we stopped here and there, I never heard the door open. So I just had to stay put and listen to him driving his pigs to market, sort of like an old dog he was. Are there any conclusions we can draw from that, I wonder? I think, well, if nothing happened, right? Then, if she didn't hear anything, then how could he have died, right? Because there would have been, like, noises with someone dying. At odds? Are you sure, man? Absolutely. It seems my learned Nipponese friend is not as dull-witted as I feared. So Van Dijk realized it too. Counsel, I must insist that you bolster your claim with evidence, or some complicit party's name at the very least. Yes, my lord. I expect you to demonstrate this alleged contradiction to the court. According to Miss Lestrade, while she was hiding in the omnibus that night, she heard nothing but the sound of Mr. McGill snoring. But think, Yunosuke, think. There's something else she should have heard. Okay. So she didn't hear anything. I mean, she would have heard the victim, right? Very well, my lord. Allow me to elaborate. On a particular sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear on the night in question. It sounded very clearly by the presence of the following person. Thrice-fired Mason. Yes, my lord. The sound that Miss Lestrade could not have failed to hear is that of the victim, Mr. Mason, boarding the omnibus. Order! Order! Explain your reasoning, counsel. Miss Lestrade, allow me to confirm something. You claimed earlier that you were the first person to board the omnibus, is that correct? Yeah, of course I was. I got on while the driver was in the pub, didn't I? And the next person to board the omnibus was Mr. McGill. That it was. Not a soul was in the cabin when I climbed aboard. At least, not in plain sight. So you were, to all intents and purposes, alone in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus at that time. Did I not just say as much? I wasn't traveling with anyone else, if that's what you mean. Yeah, I saw him get on, remember? Through the crack underneath the seat cushion. It was on his own for sure. And from what we've heard, the carriage made a number of stops after that on its onward journey, during which time did you not hear the door opening or closing at all? Nah, I never heard it. Exactly what I was listening for, wasn't it? Waiting for the sweat to leave. In which case, when and how did the victim end up in the carriage? Oh. We know that the victim collapsed inside the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. Therefore, Miss Lestrade's statement about what she did or did not here is at odds with the facts. Ah! Yes, this petty thief's statement was clearly flawed. Lord Van Zeek's? Yes. He knew all too well that there was an inconsistency with Miss Lestrade's statement. It would seem the words of thanks are in order for my learned friend. What are you talking about? You have demonstrated matters impeccably. This witness and her colorful statements are entirely unreliable. Her words are convenient untruths, nothing more. He's dead, right? How could the victim possibly not have boarded the omnibus? That makes no sense whatsoever, and this girl is a pickpocket. Let's not forget that. Uh-oh. Ah, she didn't even say anything. I didn't want to judge the dear little mite just because she had some rather naughty ways. But I must say, I can't abide liars. Then neither can I. Well, Mr. Foreman. I didn't want to judge the girl just because she had some less than salubrious ways. But I must say, I cannot abide liars. Uh-oh. Ah, Mr. Nedarlo, that's 5 jury members leaning towards guilty. Well, the consideration for others is refreshing, my Nipponese friend. To the considerable troubles you have spared me. Yes, very refreshing. What are you playing at? Have you forgotten who you're working for, you useless Eastern Adaman? This is carnage. Perfect. It's perfect. Juror number 2 is the only one left. Mr. Nanaho, the way this is going? I know. If we can't find some new way to convince everyone of Mr. McGilden's innocence, the judge will rule and we'll have lost. I very much wanted to believe the words of one of London's most respected gentlemen, but those of us in service, no, we must accept hard truths. Yes, the witness's last statement seems to have revealed a critical inconsistency in her story. However, if we consider the possibility that her statement is in fact the truth, it may shed an entirely new light on this whole case. What are you saying? Counsel? I'm sorry, sir? Whatever do you mean? Counsel, I will not tolerate you attempting to prorogue my adjudication. Explain yourself at once. When the accused boarded the omnibus on the night in question, the victim was nowhere to be seen. Subsequently, the carriage door was not heard opening a single time, as testified by the witness in the stand. And yet the victim's body was found inside the carriage. If this petty thief's words are to be believed, how do you explain the victim's miraculous appearance inside the cabin of the omnibus? There's only one way to explain how the victim came inside the carriage. There's another entrance. He was in there already? He wasn't in there already because he didn't see him. He was put there after he died. That doesn't make sense. There must be another entrance. Right? I don't even know. This is so crazy. The door wasn't even open once. The only explanation is that the victim entered the enclosed cabin some other way. No, she would have heard that too. I wondered what your new fantasy would come up with in your blind panic. But behold, the omnibus is here for all to see. Only one side of the enclosed cabin is furnished with a door. The other only has windows. Fixed windows, which could not possibly open. In short, there's no entrance to the cabin other than the door. But there could be. There's one possibility you haven't considered. Oh, really? Yes, one other way that inside that isn't the door. Another opening, the use of which allowed the victim to appear inside the enclosed cabin. Alright, counsel. The defense will identify the location for the court. Here is the omnibus on which the incident occurred. Where on earth is this entrance by which you propose the victim entered the cabin? I mean, it has to be the window thing, right? The skylight? The answer is obvious. It could only have been the skylight. I say, the skylight? Your ludicrous proposal almost has me lost for words. However, the skylight may be well large enough for someone to pass through. So you claim. But do you have a shred of evidence to support your addle-brained theory? Both Mr. McGilded and Miss Lestrade said the same in their testimonies. They each claimed to have heard a loud thud, such as the noise made by someone falling to the floor. Yes, which has already been explained, as the sound of the victim falling from his seat having been assaulted with a dagger. Yes, it has, but would a man slipping from the seat onto the floor really have made such a loud noise that the witnesses described? A noise loud enough to cause Miss Lestrade to let out an involuntary cry, in fact. Good gracious. Perhaps, in fact, that was the moment that the victim made his entrance into the cabin. No, let me rephrase that. The victim didn't enter the cabin as such. He fell into it. You're now suggesting that the victim fell from the skylight into the cabin. That's simply impossible. How can you be so sure? Because if the victim had fallen inside through the skylight, as you say, then the passengers on the roof deck would have seen it happen. And yet, not one person made the mention of such events in their testimony. Well, yes, that's true, but... Might the humble fella make a wee comment there? Mr. McGilded? To be sure now, the two fellows who were sat on the roof that testified afore said nothing of the victim falling into the skylight. But it seems to me, my lord, that 'tis not so much a case of them not saying but. Aye. 'Tis a case of them being unable to say. What? I think perhaps the two fellas. Do you be having something of a compelling reason not to mention what happened? Would you not agree, fine ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Oh my goodness, surely not. Those two chaps on the roof? Those two chaps on the roof? You mean the one who stuck that knife in the man were? Just what exactly are you insinuating here, you blitherer? You rotter, he said. You rotter! What are you insinuating? This is a flaming outrage. I have a good mind to give you a blinker in a minute. I'll give you a shiner in a minute, he said. And so will I. Mr. Fairplay, you're effectively accusing me, a city gentleman and a well-respected banker. And me, a very angry hatter. Suggesting that someone like me could have stabbed that man in the guts. It's a disgrace. It's scandalous. It's I protest in the strongest possible terms. That's right. I protest too, you rotten scoundrel. Order! 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 This is not the time, witnesses. I will not permit this wanton invasion of the stand. Return to the anteroom at once. But this is beyond reason, my lord. This is outrageous. It's very hurtful, you know. My lord, if I may comment. Go ahead, Lord Van Zeeks. It was the defense that incited this outburst from the witnesses. My learned friend has seen fit to abandon all protocol and accuse the witnesses without proof. Accuse? I never intended to. It seems, young Nepalese, that your command of the English tongue is wanting. You proposed to this court that the victim fell through the skylight from the roof deck of the omnibus. That hypothesis cannot possibly stand without the rooftop passengers being aware of the events. You have branded these gentlemen liars. You have intimidated their criminal guilt. Intimated. In our British courts of law, this is what is termed as a baseless accusation. I know I was rash to put this idea forward without any actual evidence, but you can't just dismiss it without a second thought. What are we wasting time for? Get them to testify. I thought there was something fishy about that hat. From the moment I laid eyes on the fellow. We'll have to see this matter through now, one way or another. If there's filth and rubbish in our midst, we must dispose of it at once. Testify! Testify! What's happening, Mr. Ronaldo? Spectators in the public alley they're in a complete frenzy. Mr. Fairpay and Mr. First. My lord? You will take the stand again and make another formal testimony in reference to the indictment brought by the defense. Yes, my lord. I didn't come here for this. There's no time to think this through. All I can do is keep pushing forward.